All right, listeners, welcome back for another deep dive. And today we're going to get really tactical.
Tactical.
We are,
I like it.
yeah, we're diving deep into a play that honestly can just make a team look like they are miles ahead
Mm.
of their opponents when they pull this off. Right? It's called the third man play.
Ooh,
And, I've seen it work magic on the pitch,
for sure.
but I really want to understand like how it's designed, how it's executed.
Totally.
To help us do that,
Mm.
we've got a great source document on football coaching tactics that we're going to be referencing.
Pretty awesome.
So, yeah, I'm excited to really get into the nitty-gritty of this.
Yeah, let's break it down.
Yeah.
So, picture this. You've got player one, they've got the ball, but they're facing a ton of pressure
Right.
from the opponent. Instead of forcing a pass that's super risky or just straight up losing possession, they pass it to player two.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Player two isn't actually the intended target.
Oh,
They're what's called a decoy or a bridge, if you will.
Co-
Their job is to quickly move the ball on to player three,
okay.
who's been making a very well-timed run into open space.
So it's like it's a choreographed
Yeah.
sequence where each player's got their role and they know exactly what to do.
Yeah, exactly. And it just throws the opponents totally off.
Yeah.
They're expecting player two to hold on to it, but
Oh.
boom, player three is suddenly in a dangerous position. They can take a shot, they can set up a scoring opportunity, or just keep possession going.
And so it's like pulling the rug right out from under them.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Okay. I'm starting to get how the third man play works,
Mm-hmm.
like the mechanics of it. But what makes it so effective tactically? What does it actually do for a team?
Well, it's so much more than just a fancy move. This
Okay.
is a play that's incredibly versatile.
Okay.
It can break down a defense that just won't budge,
Right.
It can create a numbers advantage when you're attacking, or it can be used just to hold on to the ball and control the tempo.
Right.
But what I find really interesting is its preventative aspect.
Preventative. See, that's not a word I think of when I think
Yeah.
of hacking plays.
I know, right?
So how is it preventative?
Okay, so think about it. If player three is making that run forward, but the pass gets intercepted, they're already in a perfect spot
Oh,
to put pressure on and try to get that ball back
Yeah.
immediately.
Oh,
It's a way more proactive way to defend
right.
compared to teams that just keep passing horizontally, which leaves them totally exposed if they lose the ball.
So it's not just about, trying to score goals. It's about
Yeah,
controlling the whole flow of the game
exactly.
and not taking on too much risk.
Precisely.
Okay, cool.
Now let's talk about positioning. Our source really emphasizes this. If you want this play to work, players can't all be on the same line.
Right.
They need to be at different heights on the field.
Gotcha.
This creates those gaps and passing lanes
Yeah.
that you need to exploit the weaknesses in the other team's defense.
So it's almost like a geometry problem, You
It is a little bit, yeah.
got to find the right angles and the right spaces to make the play work.
Absolutely. But, it's not just about these preset patterns either.
Right.
If you really want to nail this play, you have to know your opponent,
Yeah.
understand their weaknesses, and be ready to adapt.
That's what I was just thinking, because every team defends a little differently, right?
Sure.
So how does a coach actually figure out, when and how to use the third man to their advantage?
Well, our source is a great example.
Oh, I like examples.
Yeah, it talks about how this coach was prepping his team to go up against Burytown FC U23s.
Okay.
Now, those guys are known to be really tough.
Yeah.
So he spent hours watching their old games.
Wow, like a football detective.
Basically. And he noticed something interesting.
What do you find?
He realized that Burytown's defense had a specific weakness. They were really vulnerable to the third man play when it was combined with a switch play.
So that quick pass across the field,
Yeah.
if they weren't ready for it, that could really mess them up.
Yeah, they'd be caught off guard, and that would give the perfect opportunity for that third man run.
To just exploit that open space.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Did it work?
It did. He actually used that insight in his team's training.
Wow.
He had them do drills that were like those game situations.
Oh, that's cool.
And when they finally played against Burytown, they used the third man play perfectly and ended up winning by a lot.
Wow. So it's not just about the mechanics of the play itself. It's about understanding your opponent
Yeah,
and finding those little things that you can
absolutely.
use to your advantage.
It's about strategy, adaptability, and, a little bit of cunning.
Okay, so we talked about, the tactical advantages and how a coach won't use this play to, really target an opponent's vulnerabilities.
Right.
But how do the players actually learn this?
Yeah.
It seems like it would take so much coordination
Yeah.
and instinct.
It definitely doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
Our source talks about a few drills that coaches use to kind of build those instincts.
Yeah.
They start with simple passing drills, even during warm-ups,
Okay.
just to get that quick 1-2-1-3 sequence down.
So, like, starting with the fundamentals.
Exactly.
But I bet it gets complicated.
It gets way more complex. Like,
Oh.
they'll do these tight space drills, like a 4v4 game,
Right.
but the players on the outside can only touch the ball once if it comes from the other side.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they have to think super fast
Yeah.
and anticipate where that third man run is going to be and get that pass right to them.
So under pressure.
Yeah,
Make the right decision in, like, a split second.
exactly. It's perfect for building those game day instincts.
Yeah, I can see that. And then,
And then finally, they move to competitive 5v5 games.
okay.
But there's a twist. The field is divided into attack and defense zones.
Okay.
The offense starts with fewer players in the attack zone.
Gotcha.
So they actually need to use the third man play to bring an extra player up and create an equal attacking force.
So they're not just learning the play, they're learning how to use it to, like, solve problems.
Right.
And, actually create those scoring opportunities.
Yeah, in a really realistic game setting.
That's so cool.
It all comes down to the successful. Football isn't about individual players being amazing. It's about teamwork.
Yeah.
It's about communication, and it's about strategic thinking.
Yeah.
Every player has a role, and understanding why you're doing something is just as important as knowing how to do it.
We've covered so much.
Yeah, I know.
The mechanics, the tactical stuff, the importance of analyzing your opponent, and even how it's taught and practiced. I feel like we've really looked at the third man from every angle.
I think so.
But before we wrap up, is there one big takeaway that you really want our listener to walk away with?
Well, I think the main thing is that the third man play really shows how a simple concept can have a huge impact on the game.
Yeah.
If it's done right with precision and with strategic, thinking behind it. It reminds us that football's like chess, not checkers.
Right.
Every move you make matters. And if you can think ahead and figure out what your opponent's going to do,
Yeah.
you'll always have an advantage.
That's such a good point.
Wow.
It's not just about how good you are physically.
Right.
It's about, the mental game,
Totally.
being strategic,
Yep.
being able to adapt
Yeah.
and really outsmart your opponent.
Yeah.
Which makes me think about what you said before about how the third man idea could apply to things outside of football too.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, how could you use that in real life?
Well, think about like business negotiations or partnerships. You often see this kind of play happening.
Really?
Yeah, you've got one person who's directly involved, another person who's like a go-between,
Yeah.
and then boom, a third person comes in at just the right time
Yeah.
to close the deal or change the whole dynamic.
That's a really cool way to look at it.
Right.
I could see that happening in different parts of life.
Yeah.
It's like knowing when to bring in a different perspective
Yeah.
or step in at the right time to achieve a goal.
It's all about understanding that whether it's on the pitch or in life,
Mhm.
success often depends on people working together, thinking strategically, and seeing the bigger picture.
Wow. I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about today.
For sure.
Thanks for taking us on this deep dive into the third man play.
It's always fun to break down these tactical things and see how they apply more broadly,
Yeah, for sure. And to our listener, we hope this has made you curious about the more tactical side of football.
Definitely.
And maybe next time you watch a match, you'll spot the third man play in action.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep learning.
Yeah, it really makes you think about how much more there is to football than what you see on the surface.
Totally. And, I think it was really cool how the source broke down those drills, too.
Oh, yeah, those are great.
Like, it really showed how you can take this concept and build it up from the ground up.
Yeah, you start with the basics, get that foundation strong, and then slowly add more layers, more complexity, until, boom, you've got a team that can execute it perfectly under pressure.
And it's not just about, doing it right. It's about understanding why it works.
Absolutely. The why is just as important as the how,
Exactly. So much to think about.
for sure.
Well, I think we've definitely given our listeners a lot to chew on today.
I hope so.
Thanks again for guiding us through this deep dive into the third man play.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this tactical breakdown of the beautiful game.
Yeah, and keep an eye out for that third man move next time you're watching a match.
You might be surprised how often it pops up until next time. Keep exploring and keep learning.